Hello shrimp and fish people. Another update on the simple shrimp tank. Just wanted to tell you all the changes with the livestock inside, as there was a lot of babies that hatched since last time. So in general, the tank is doing really good. As I mentioned before, this is one of my most stable tanks. Most stable tank out of all the other tanks that I have. Basically inside I have the Mischlings, some Taiwan bees, and painted fire red cherry shrimps. In the meantime, I had 3 Mischlings that were buried, and they had their babies hatch. They released the shrimplets, and I'm happy to say that there was a lot of Taiwan bees that came out of that. The very first one that hatched, the babies that hatched were from a Mischling that was crossed with another Mischling, and that one had, out of what I counted, I think I counted 19 babies altogether. 4 out of those were wine red Taiwan bees, so that's a pretty good ratio. Then the second one was crossed with a Taiwan bee, and that one had, well, most of those were actually Taiwan bees, pandas, black pandas, and I don't think there was any wine red pandas in that batch. Just like pandas, and what else was there? Oh, just a regular crystal red shrimps. And then the third one was a crystal black shrimp, and that one had some King Kongs and a few Taiwan, what is it? Pandas. I lost my track here. Pandas and a whole bunch of crystal black shrimps, and I did notice some wine reds, so that one had more variety. And yeah, the painted fire reds are breeding as well, even though these are parameters for Taiwan bees. But you can see there's a whole bunch of babies everywhere. Tons of babies. Wherever you look, there's babies. There's one in the back. There's some underneath here. You can see those little small 1-week-old babies. Excuse me. The survival rate is really high in this tank. So that's really good. I'm happy with that. It's a 5-gallon tank, and it's doing really amazing so far. Hopefully I don't jinx it. I do regular water changes on it, and it's really working. And one of the things I noticed in every tank that I have that is doing really well and their baby survival rate is really high, there's one thing inside those tanks that I noticed, and I did some research online, and that actually turned out to be true. I have a lot of copypods, cyclops in this tank, and for what I read is that that is a sign that the water quality is really good. If the cyclops survive in your tank, that means that the water quality is really good, and that means also that your shrimplets will survive. So that's a good thing to know. So a lot of people go like, how can I get rid of these cyclops? But you know what? Don't. They're a good indicator that your water is really good, and they're cute. I mean, they're so small that you don't even notice they're there. So yeah, so that's one of the things you want to look. Sometimes you need they're really tiny, so you will need a loop or something like a magnifying glass to actually see them. There's a few on this moss ball. If you notice some little tiny things crawling on it, that's what it is. See, now it's in focus, and you can see them. There's one right there. Maybe if I can get something sharper to point. See if I can zoom it in. But yeah, there you go. You can see a few right behind that limpet. See that limpet on the glass? Yeah, jerky motions. That's the cyclops. So they're not harmless. They're just cute little things, and they will tell you if your water quality is good. If they survive, they live in your tank, your shrimplets will survive. A lot of times people will say it's the grain of the gravel that crushes the babies, and you know what? Honestly, I don't think that's the case ever. It's your water quality. If your shrimplets don't survive, that means there's not enough like biofilm or any like nutrition for them to actually survive. And I had another tank which crashed and a lot of shrimplets died. So, and when I look at the cyclops, there's none. So I'm trying to correct that as well. So yeah, so there you go. That's a tip. Leave the cyclops alone. They're great. But anyways, back to this tank here, and you can see there's tons of babies. It's doing really well. The water is a little harder on this one. I don't want to touch it too much because everything's doing great, but my GH is at about 5, I believe. So I want to get it down to 3 or 4, but 3 would be ideal. But I don't want to touch it right now because everybody's doing great. They're molting. Everybody's happy. I don't want to, you know, wreck that balance right now. There's a little King Kong right there. So yeah, this moss. It's Java moss. It doesn't grow as much as it should, and I'll tell you why. It's because this light that I use on here is it really makes this highlight intensity, and the beam is very concentrated down, and anything low light does not like highlight, obviously. It will be alive, but it will not thrive. It'll just basically say, oh, I got enough light and I don't need to grow anymore. So it turns more yellowish, and yeah, so that's the reason why this one's not really as vibrant in green, and it's alive, it's growing, but you can see in the middle it's kind of yellowish, and so yeah, keep that in mind. If you have low light plants, don't give it highlight. It will not do as well. I had one of these PFRs that had bluish eggs, and I was questioning that, and then wondering if it's reverting back to the wild form or something. But in the end, when the babies came, and they're all over, but they just came out as clear and then started coloring up. There's one right there. So there's no difference. Doesn't seem like they're the wild form. Is it gonna focus there? Right in the middle of the screen. So it's just a regular cherry shrimp. So I don't think the egg color really matters for that in that case. In Taiwan bees, yes, it matters, and I was able to actually see if there's going to be any Taiwan bees, because the eggs were, it starts off beige in color, and then it'll crystal red shrimps will turn like clear. But Taiwan bee eggs will be, depending of if it's wine reds or they'll be like more darker orange. And then you have Taiwan bees, and those eggs will be like bluish black. So those are really easy to distinguish. I just noticed there's that one in the middle of the screen. That's a wine red panda. That's from that very first batch. There's 4 of those, and I was able to distinguish those right from the minutes after they hatched. So they do look quite different. Then you can see those 2 shrimps, those that you see on the screen, they're from the same batch. So Taiwan bees, they're a little slower to grow, and you can clearly see the difference in color. The whites on the Taiwan bees are really, really solid, where the crystal red shrimp, they will be a little blotchy. It's not really, really as solid, unless it's a pure red line, but these are not, so it's easy to distinguish these 2. So yeah, so there you go. That's pretty much the only thing that I was gonna mention. Everything else still the same. The moss balls. There's those 2 bouquet philandras. They're slowly growing. That one's getting a new leaf. So that's kind of nice. Oh, that looks like a Missouri right there. Nice. Okay. So there you have it. That's it's a quick update. Probably not so quick. 17 minutes. Wow. If you guys get through the end of this video, just why don't you just comment and tell me? Maybe I'll make shorter videos or something like that. Is it 17 minutes? Maybe not. I think that's just a countdown. But it's still long anyways. So yeah, thanks for watching guys, and see you next time.